Hello, I'm Landon Schlungen, and today we're going to build a random quote machine. So we need to build a random quote machine that is functionally similar to this one right here, where it has the quote, and then when we hit the button of new quote, it gives us a new one, and it also gives us the author down here. And then we're able to tweet it or use Tumblr, even though I don't have either of these apps, they still want this functionality in here. So to get started with this, we want to use Visual Studio Code. So if you don't have Visual Studio Code, I would highly recommend downloading it and using it for this challenge. And once we have Visual Studio Code downloaded and ready to go, just open up a new folder, and then we can have our folder named Random Quote Machine, and then we can start adding files to it. Our first file is going to be index.html. And the first part of this video is going to be how we can set up React to build this and how to set up React on Visual Studio Code. So the way we can do this is, first of all, we want to get our boilerplate ready. So just do exclamation mark and then enter, and that will set up our boilerplate. And then instead of document for the title, we'll do random quote machine. And now there's a bunch of script tags that we need to set up React. And I'm going to go through how to find them and look them up. There's going to be 3 of them. The first 2, you just go to React CDN, because these are the CDN links we need. All we have to do is we have to grab these 2 script tags, copy them over, put them right in our head right here, and we should be good to go with that. Next thing we need is Babel. So right here, this is the React and React DOM, but now we need Babel, which is what React uses to compile and then turn into regular JavaScript. So we're going to need Babel. So just look up Babel CDN, and Babel setup is the place we want to go. And then in the browser, and we want to grab this one right here, this script tag. So grab that, and we'll put it in our HTML right below our React ones. And there we go, we have Babel now. Next thing we want to do is we want to have our script tag for our body, which is going to be what our React is. So we're going to do script, and we have to make sure it's type of text/Babel, and that is the magic sauce that will help us with this. Right here it says text Babel, and then we can start using React inside of our script tags. Although what I want to do is have a separate file for that. So to have it be a separate file, all we have to do is do source on the script tag, src equals /index.js, which we are going to make right now. So we'll make an index.js file, and there we go. The / means the current folder. So right now we're in random quote machine, so it'll stay in that folder and it'll grab the index.js file, which is this one right here. So that's great. And when working with CDNs, although we don't see like all the code that it gives us, it's behind the scenes. So if we actually went to one of these links, it would show us all of the React code that can help us out with our building. So we're actually using this code in our project. We just can't see it because it's online. So now that we know that, we can start using React. And the first thing we want to do is set up a component. So set up a component. I'll do functional components. So we'll do function app, and we'll open it up, and we can return a div in it that says hello world. So I'll go div hello world, and then we want to do React DOM.render, and then we want to render our app. So we'll go tag app, and then we'll append it to the node in our index.html that we want. So in this case, we'll do document.html or document.getElementById, and we'll grab the app. Although we don't have a element with the ID of app right now, so we'll make that. We'll go in here, and right above our script tag, we'll do a div with a ID equal to app. And let's see if it works. So to get it to run, we need a extension called live server. This one, just install that, and then you'll be able to go onto it and right click and do open with live server. And then once we do that, it will open it up and it will say hello world, look at that, it works. That's great. Yeah, I was having trouble before because a lot of times I didn't have this text Babel in here. I didn't have my CDNs correct. But yeah, once we do these steps, then we can start using React, and it's super easy and quick to do so. So that's pretty awesome if you ask me. Now we're going to start building our random quote machine. Another thing though too, we want to use Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a CSS file that we want to use. So to get that, we'll just do Bootstrap, look it up, open up this and get started, and then copy this link tag, and we'll put this in the head as well. We'll go into here and we'll put it in the head, paste it in and save it. And there we go. Now we can use Bootstrap. Another thing we want is Font Awesome. So to get that, we'll go Font Awesome, CDN, get started with Font Awesome, and here's the link that we need right here. So we'll just copy this right into our head. Oh, actually not. Font Awesome CDN link. So yeah, this is the one we want. Just go to Font Awesome CDN link and get the one by stack path. And we'll just click to copy this. And then we'll go back to Visual Studio Code and we'll paste this into our head tag as well. And that was not the link. I wish it was the full link. That's okay. I guess we'll just do link here and then paste it into the href. And there we go. Should be good to go with that. And then I do believe. And now we can start working on our random quote machine now that we have everything we need to use. So above this return statement, we are going to get our random quotes, and we're going to get our random quotes from a website called TypeFit. It's going to be this URL right here, https:/type.fit/API/quotes. And this gives us our JSON data that we need, which is the text of the quote and the author. So that's great. And the way we get that is with a fetch statement in our JavaScript. But to start off, we want to have some pieces of state, and state with functional components is done with a useState hook is what they call them. So we're gonna do our quotes and set quotes, and it's gonna equal react.useState, which is going to be set to an empty array for now. So this useState hook, this is the default state of quotes. So when we call quotes, like down here, if we did quotes in here, we would only get this empty array. But if we put stuff in here, then we would get the stuff in here as an array. And then when we do set quotes, we can do set quotes, and then we can set it to a new array of whatever we want. And then quotes becomes what this is after we do this. So that's how we use state. It's a lot like this dot state, except a little cleaner in my opinion and better to use. So now that I explained that, we want to have two of these, one for the quotes and one for our random quote. So I'll switch quotes out here for random quote. There we go. We have random quote and set random quote. And now we want to use our use effect hook in React. So to do this, we're going to do react.useEffect. And it takes a callback function as an argument, and it also takes another argument, which is an array of dependencies. And in this useEffect hook, this is where we want to actually fetch our quotes from that website, from this website. And to do this, we're going to start off with an async function. So we're going to do async function fetch data, open it up, and then we want to grab our quotes from this API. To do this, we'll do a variable of response equals await fetch. So this is a regular JavaScript function that we have available. And what do we want to fetch from? We want to fetch from this website. So I'll just copy the URL and paste it in here. And there we go. Now we'll get the quotes from that in the response. But not yet, actually, because we need to do const data equals await response.json. And this will give us our JSON in our data variable. And the reason why we have to do async await here is because it takes some time to actually fetch these quotes. And it's just something you have to do when you're waiting for a response from something. You have to do this async await thing here, or you can use promises, although I would rather use async await. So now that we have this, we can set our quotes to the data. So we'll do set quotes and we'll pass in the data. And then we want to get a random index of the data to set to a random quote. So to get a random index, we'll do let rand index equal math.floor. So this will make it so that it's a integer. And we'll do math.random times our data.length. Because we see that this data is in an array, so we can call .length on it. And that will get us our random index. Now what do we want to do with this random index? Well, we want to set our random quote equal to data of our random index. So now our set random quote will be one of these quotes that we get back in the data. but it's going to be a random one because we use math.random. And then we want to call this function right away. So underneath this, we'll just do fetch data and we'll call it. There we go. So now this will run right as this file runs, this will run. And to see that if this is working, we can either do a console log on the data, or we can map through it and see what we get. So I'll just map through it quick, I guess. To map through it, we'll go quotes. Well, first JavaScript with brackets, and then we'll do quotes dot map, and we'll map each quote, and we'll open it up to, and we'll use parentheses here so that we don't have to use a return statement, and we'll just do divs of our quote.text, and we'll see if this works. Go back to our random quote machine, and there we go. We have all of our quotes. That's awesome. And if we reload, then you see that it takes some time for it to bring it in. Like hello world is here before all this stuff, and that's because we used async await. It has to wait for it to get the data from this website. And the reason why we have to do .text here is because in this data, it has a text property and an author property. So we're just grabbing the text, which is this. And you can see that the first one is Genius is 1% inspiration, and Genius is 1% inspiration. So we know that's working correctly. So that's half the battle with this random quote machine. Now what we want to do, since we're using Bootstrap, is inside of our div, we can do a class name equal to container and a padding top of 5. And this will just make it so that it moves over. That is if Bootstrap is working correctly. For some reason, it seems like it's not working. What if I do Jumbotron here? Reload? No. My Bootstrap. What has happened to you? Possible that Font Awesome has to go below it. Maybe that's the reason. So if I just move Font Awesome below the Bootstrap one, maybe it'll work. No. If I do text center, that's not working either. I'm gonna get rid of this for now and just do hello. Okay, for some reason Prettier's not working right now, even though it is format on save. Okay, there we go. Now Prettier's working again. That was weird. This still isn't working though with Bootstrap. If I copy this over, is this from my other one? Now Bootstrap works. Okay. I wonder why that is. Okay, so I believe the reason why Bootstrap wasn't working there was because they just updated to a new version 4.5.3. But I was using version 4.5.2 just yesterday or 2 days ago. And I think it's taking some time for it to actually go up online. And that's the reason why it's not working. Anyways, it's not a big deal because they update versions every time, or a lot of times, and pretty much always works anyways. Just give it some time, I guess. But yeah, now we have text center and our text is centered right here. And I'll make this half screen for us. And now we want to put in our quote. So we can do text center, we can do container, what I had here before. I'll do container padding top of 5. And then inside of that, we'll do a div of Jumbotron. So Jumbotron using Emmet so that it's nice and quick. And then in here, we'll do a div of class card. And then this will have a div of class header, card header. And it will also have a div. So I'll do div and then, or plus, and then div dot card body. And that'll make both of these divs right away, so that's great. And then in the card header, we'll just do inspirational quotes. And let's see what this looks like quick. So there we go, we have our card. We have our Jumbotron, which is this gray thing, and it's in a container, and that's why there's margin on both of the sides. And we still have our hello down here. Inside the card body is where we're gonna actually put our quotes. So we're gonna start off with JavaScript, and we're gonna say if there's a random quote. So actually this random quote shouldn't be an array to start, it should be an empty string. If there's a random quote, then we want to render something. And if there's not a random quote, then we want to render loading, and the loading will be an H2 of loading. And then up top here, we're going to start with a fragment. So this is how you do fragments in React, which means there's actually nothing here. It's like not even a div. It's just not there. You just need it so that it is returned as one block. And then we want to do an H5 of class name of card title, and inside here is where we're going to put our author. So we'll do card or random quote dot author. And if there's no author, then we're just gonna say no author. So what this or sign is saying give me the random quote if it exists, otherwise give me no author. Because if this is false, then it will automatically return this, but if it's true, then it'll return the first one. So that's what that does. Let's see what this gives us now. We get Gloria Steinem as the author. Now we want to grab the quote that is, which is the random quote.text, and we'll put that in a p tag. So we'll go p of class card text, and this will have our random quote.text and save that, and we should see, there we go. We get loading first, and then we get our quote, and reload, and we get a new quote. So this one didn't have an author, so it's just no author. And this one's Janis Joplin, don't compromise yourself, you're all you've got. And another thing we can do with this quote is actually put it in quotes. So to do that, we have to do a special thing of ampersand quote and then semicolon, and do that at the front and the back, and save it, and now we should get quotes. So now it's surrounded by quotes, so that's good. And now what we want to do is we want to have a button to get a new quote. We want a button to share to Twitter and a button to share to Tumblr, and we want this to be inside of our card. So inside this card body div, we'll just go below loading, and we'll put a div of class row so that everything's in a row, and inside this we'll have a button. We'll have 2 A tags as well, and then inside this button it'll say new quote, and it will also have an on-click event handler. On-click equals get new quote, which we haven't made yet. This is a function that we need to make, so we'll just make this function up here above the return, below the use effect, below the use state. We'll do const get new quote equals an arrow function. And what does this new quote do? Well, it'll get a new random index for us and set a new random quote. So we'll just copy that over, and that should be good to go. So now when I click new quote, and it doesn't do it because it doesn't know what date is. So instead we want to get that from our quotes part up here. So instead of data, we'll do quotes and save that, and now it should work. I think. There we go. We get a new quote every time we hit this button, so that works. Pretty simple too. Also, we want to style this button using Bootstrap, so we'll just do class name of button primary to turn it blue, and now it's a beautiful looking button. Sweet. And I'll also give it some margin left because this is kind of weird with less margin here. So to add margin, we'll just do ML of 3, and it goes from 1 to 5. You can't go more than that. So there we go. Now we want to have our buttons. So these are going to be the 2 buttons for sharing our quote. And to make them look like buttons, we'll give them a class name of button and button warning, or whatever we want. In this case, I'll do button warning, and I'll do button danger for the next one. So there's our buttons. They don't have anything in them right now, but we want them to be icons. And since we are using Font Awesome, so we grab this link of Font Awesome here. Now we can use Font Awesome icons. And the way we use Font Awesome icons is we do an I tag, right? And we give it a class. So in this case, it'll be class name of FA and FA Twitter. And that should give us the Twitter logo. Yep, there we go. We have a Twitter Tweety bird right there. And to make it actually go to Twitter, we want to use this href and target. So I'm just going to copy this over. Okay, so right here we have our href of twitter.com/intent/tweet, and it gives us our text equaling our random text, our random quote.text, and our random quote.author. And then the target is blank, which means it'll open up a new window when we click on it. And for the one with Tumblr, it's going to have an icon of FA Tumblr. There we go. FA Tumblr. So yeah, if you do 2 dots, then it'll just put a space in between them. So that works. And now there should be Tumblr here. Yep. And we can click on this and it'll bring us to Twitter, even though I don't have Twitter. And we want this Tumblr one to work now. So instead of this href, we'll use this href. This stuff right here, it'll bring us to Tumblr, and it will do FreeCodeCamp caption of this and content equaling this of our text. And I don't really know what encode URI component does, but I guess we need it. I think maybe what it does is it puts %20 in for the spaces. That could be because when we go to this, if I just go to this and open up this wider, you can see all these %20s in here because those are spaces. And maybe if we didn't have the URI encode, then it would actually show up as a space and it wouldn't work. But yeah, maybe that's what it does. I don't know for certain, but that would make sense. So yeah, we're pretty much done now. All we want to do now is just make it prettier, and we can make it so that it changes colors every time in the background like they do in this one. So this one changes colors on the background, and we can do that pretty easily too. All we have to do is inside of our get new quote, just like add a new color on. So I'm just gonna add some colors onto here. I'm gonna grab a random color, or grab some colors, And this is from these colors are copied straight off of this one. So if you want to do that, you can do that too. And now we want to actually grab a random index from this. So I'll just copy this down and do random color index. And instead of getting it from quotes.length, we'll do colors.length. And we want to set a random color up here. So we'll do const color and set color equals react.useState. And we'll make it white to start out with. So hashtag FFF is white. And now we can do set random color or set color to our rand color index, or it'll be our colors of our rand color index. There we go. Now we should get a random color every time we call this, but we actually want to set our body color to that. So we're gonna do a div around our container. So we'll do div, and we're gonna wrap this all the way around our container. So I'll take this ending div tag and bring it all the way down to the bottom. Save that, and then inside of this we'll do style equals our double brackets, which is our style object. And inside of our style object we'll do background color equals our color. And now it should work, I believe. So new quote. Okay, it's not working. What if I make this black? Will it change it? Okay, so that does change the background color. Oh, this is the wrong one. Should be in this div. And it should also have a min height on it as well of 100 view height. There we go. Now it's black. And it's not changing colors here, not color. There we go. Now it's getting a new color every time. So that's kind of cool. And to add it as a transition, we can add a new style.css file and link to it in our HTML. So to link to it, we'll just do link and then ./style.css. And now we're linked up, and we can do all. We want a transition on all things, 0.2 seconds, 0.2 seconds, ease in out. Save that, and now we should get a new transition every time we hit new quote, which we are. So that's kind of cool. If I make it like 0.5 seconds, it'll really show. So there we go. It's kind of slow, and it gets a random color every time. So that should be it for this. This is all this is. It's pretty simple to make. It only took 94 lines of code in React, and the index.html file we just had to set up with React, which is pretty easy once we know how to do it. We just need our 3 script tags of React, React DOM, and Babel, and then we have to set up our script down in the body that has a type of text Babel, and it links to our index.js file. And then that connects to our div with an ID of app right here, renders our component of app, and it renders it to that div with an ID of app. So all of this, all of the stuff that's returned, so all this is getting put directly inside of this div. It's like it's right here. And then we fetched our quotes using React.useEffect to fetch it when it loads, and it fetches from this website. So we can see that when I reload it, then it's fetching again and it's doing loading. And then we grab its JSON, we set our quotes to that, we set our random quote to a random index of that data set. And then when we hit this new quote button, we are grabbing another random index and setting a new random quote, and we're also setting a new color. And then our 2 buttons for Twitter and Tumblr are done with Font Awesome of FA Twitter. That's how we get the icon, using Font Awesome in our link tag. So right here is our Font Awesome one. Just look it up and grab the CDN tag. And then when we click on it, it does the href of this twitter.com, and it puts in all of our stuff for us. And also for Tumblr, this is kind of the same thing. And we're also using Bootstrap. That's how we can do this button warning and get this yellow color here and as a cool looking button. So that's it for this one, and I will see you when we build the Markdown previewer, and that should be pretty fun too. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.